They don't follow trends. They don't quote what's popular. They don't echo the voices around them to feel safe or seen. The Sigma INFJ walks a different path, one carved from internal compass, not external approval. Their identity isn't up for debate. Their values aren't available for sale. And their way of thinking doesn't shift just because the crowd moves. This isn't rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's integrity. It's autonomy. It's unapologetic individualism. In this world of mimicry and noise, the Sigma INFJ's quiet refusal to conform is radical. And here's why they never apologize for it. Part 1. Their core identity was built, not inherited. Most people passively absorb their worldview from parents, culture, religion, peer groups, but Sigma INFJs don't accept anything at face value. They interrogate everything. They strip ideas down to their roots. They discard beliefs that no longer resonate. They rebuild their philosophy from the inside out. And the result? A life lived in alignment, even if it looks strange to everyone else. Their values are not decorative, they're battle-tested. And because of that, they don't need to defend who they are. They embody it. No apologies, no explanations. Just steady, unshakable truth. Part 2. Conformity feels like self-betrayal. To the Sigma INFJ, fitting in has never felt natural. It's felt painful. Every time they tried to blend in, to nod along, to laugh at what wasn't funny, to fake ease in conversations that drained their soul, they felt themselves shrinking. And eventually, they reached a point where the cost of inclusion was too high. So they stopped chasing belonging and started choosing self-respect. They would rather be misunderstood in solitude than be celebrated in a version of themselves they don't recognize. That isn't stubbornness. That's survival. Part 3. They lead themselves. Sigma INFJs don't need consensus to move. They don't wait for permission. They don't outsource direction. When they feel something is right, they follow it, quietly, consistently, even if no one else sees it yet. They are often ahead of their time. Their ideas may not be trendy, but 6 months later, others start repeating what they quietly knew all along. They don't brag. They don't say, "I told you so." They just keep building in silence. Because they don't need followers to lead. They only need alignment with truth. Part 4. They don't seek to impress, only to express. Sigma INFJs are not performative. They aren't here to dazzle you. They don't overstyle their life to make it look impressive. They care about meaning, not optics. Substance, not show. You'll rarely see them bragging, but if you ask the right questions, you'll find they've done more, seen more, felt more than most people ever realize. And that's the point. Their life is for living, not for display. They dress how they want, they speak how they think, they create for expression, not approval. And when you live like that, you don't have to apologize for anything. Part 5. They intuit what works, even if it's unpopular. Sigma INFJs don't always have conventional logic behind their decisions. They operate from intuition, a knowing that can't always be explained, but rarely fails them. This inner compass often points them in unexpected directions, toward quitting what looks perfect on paper, toward starting something impractical, toward distancing from people everyone else admires. And while others question them, mock them, warn them, they listen to the quiet voice within. And that voice has saved them time and time again. They don't need others to understand the path. They just need it to feel true. Part 6. They don't shapeshift for comfort. Some people adapt constantly to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to be liked. Not the Sigma INFJ. They can adapt, flawlessly in fact. But they choose not to if it means erasing themselves. They won't nod just to avoid awkwardness. They won't bite their tongue if something violates their values. They won't wear the social mask if it makes their soul itch. This integrity is unsettling to people used to shapeshifters. But the Sigma INFJ isn't trying to be palatable. They're trying to be honest. And if that honesty makes others uncomfortable, so be it. Part 7. They don't chase external validation. Sigma INFJs don't live for compliments. They don't crumble under criticism. They're immune to flattery and unbothered by being overlooked, because they don't derive worth from outside noise. They know who they are, and that's enough. While others panic when likes drop or praise disappears, the Sigma INFJ remains steady. They weren't creating for attention. They weren't speaking for applause. Everything they do comes from internal alignment. And when you live like that, you don't need to prove anything. Part 8. They are not here to compete. They're here to evolve. Competition is irrelevant to a Sigma INFJ. They're not playing the same game as everyone else. They don't measure their success by comparison. They measure it by internal congruence. Are they becoming more honest, more clear, more precise in their values and presence? That's the only scoreboard that matters. So while others fight for status, for followers, for recognition, the Sigma INFJ quietly evolves, not for attention, but for integrity. And they owe no one an apology for outgrowing what others still chase. Part 9. They're often misread, and they've stopped explaining. Their calm is mistaken for arrogance, their silence for judgment, their depth for coldness. But the Sigma INFJ no longer rushes to correct these assumptions. They've realized people see you through the lens of their own limitations, and explaining yourself to everyone is a full-time job with no paycheck. So now, they let people think what they want, and they continue being who they are, not out of indifference, but out of discernment. Because if someone misreads your truth and walks away, they were never meant to be close in the first place. Part 10. They know that standing alone is the price of authenticity. Being a true individual means being willing to stand alone, to make choices others mock, to walk away from the crowd, to trust your vision before it's validated. And that isn't easy. Sigma INFJs have lost friendships, opportunities, relationships because they refused to betray themselves. But every time they chose truth over comfort, their clarity grew, their peace deepened, their direction sharpened. Now, they don't apologize for who they are, because they earned this identity. They forged it, they bled for it, and it's not up for negotiation. Conclusion. The world wants compliance. They choose clarity. We live in a world that rewards sameness, that praises you for fitting in, for repeating, for staying within lines. But the Sigma INFJ doesn't color inside the lines. They draw new ones, or ignore them entirely. They don't seek to be relatable. They seek to be real. And if that makes them hard to understand, hard to label, hard to follow, that's okay. Because they're not here to be easy. They're here to be honest. And they'll never apologize for that.